want to thank you all for joining us today on we know, relatively short notice to announce that today I'll be issuing an emergency order declaring a state of emergency for the city of Columbia, South Carolina. For those of you relatively new to, no one's new to the pandemic, and you've heard some of this language in the not too distant past. Under state law, the mayor of the city has the authority to declare a state of emergency. Within 24 hours, the city council must meet to confirm that state of emergency. City council will meet tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. and I fully expect that we will have the support of the city council in this endeavor. We're watching some amazingly difficult trends emerge that leave each and every one of us deeply disturbed after watching a significant suppression of the virus by men and women who committed themselves to being vaccinated. An early robust testing strategy that the city was actively involved in, along with so many different public and private sector and public health driven partners here in the city. We are again at a significant challenging point. The rise of the Delta variant has not only imperiled our public health with a much more contagious version of the COVID-19 virus, but we've watched it rage through our community, a tenfold increase in infections just in the past month. The Delta variant, unlike the previous strands of the virus, has shown not only an amazing ability to infect all of us, but an incredible ability to infect our children. Many of us shuddered as we read reports of our children's hospitals all across this country, including right here in our fair city, being at capacity with our children suffering from COVID-19 and other respiratory ailments, along with all the other ailments, many of which we're seeing make their way back into our common lexicon because of this anti-vaxxing movement and discussion that we're seeing across the country. Children dealing with chickenpox and whooping cough and any number of different ailments. We're at the point right now where there are several vaccines authorized for emergency use by the CDC, and an increasing number of South Carolinians are taking advantage of that vaccine, and we need to see that number increase dramatically, well over 70%, to try and suppress the incidence of this virus. Regrettably, the vaccines have not been approved for those under 12 in the U.S. That means that in 2 weeks, across this community, tens of thousands of young people will be required to go back to school. Parents are legally required to send their children back to school. We have compulsory attendance laws in South Carolina. Thousands of dedicated, hardworking, committed teachers who have watched their lives be turned upside down because they've been pursuing their passion of wanting to educate our children, educate our babies, are facing an amazingly uncertain future as they decide to either pursue their passion of educating our children or to risk their lives by stepping back into a classroom. We have determined that this amazing confluence of challenges has put us into a position where we must do what we think is necessary, and that is do everything possible, everything within our authority to protect the health, life, and safety of our families, of our children first, and the professionals who have dedicated their lives to providing for them. That's where we are. I will say this, I did reach out to several elected officials today, spoke with leaders, appointed officials of both uh, Richland 1 and Richland 2, the director of the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, had a great conversation with our Attorney General and also with a number of other public sector leaders to express the gravity of the matter before us and why we're acting and under what authority we're acting. It is clear to us, the legal opinion from our legal staff, that we have the authority to do exactly what we're doing here today, and we are fully prepared to hold that position and fight that position all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. That's how strongly we feel about this. Of course, you know, I'm joined here by City Councilman Howard Duvall and our City Manager, Teresa Wilson. You know, it seems like, yeah, a lot of times over the last year we've been standing in the gap. The city doesn't mind, city leadership doesn't mind speaking up when we feel some things need to be said. And I will say this too, and I will wrap up my comments. I've been incredibly encouraged by the discourse I've had with a number of our friends and others who share different political ideas, different political opinions, who have different ideas about the vaccination process or masking. And I've found unanimous support in support of protecting our children. This is something we can all rally around, we can all support. Let's save our babies, let's protect our babies, let's protect the men and women who educate them every single day. And hopefully we'll see no type of legal challenge to this action. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes. I'm
Chris.
looking at a note saying that no school districts or any of the schools will use any funds to
Sure.
students
Sure,
or
Chris.
anyone else.
Yeah, Chris. That's the language from the proviso attached to the state budget this year. Our intention is to provide the mask. We will provide masks to the 40 plus schools that fall into this definition. We're talking about elementary schools and middle schools across the footprint of the city of Columbia. Most of those schools are in Richland 1. Some of those schools are obviously private. One school is in Richland 2. We hope and pray that we'll see other jurisdictions that our Richland 1, Richland 2, Richland 5 schools and the families affected by the very same situation might follow suit, and we can find a uniform regional approach to this. So that is the language from the proviso. This is clearly not in violation of that.
Mayor, how do you expect to enforce this?
Oh, our fire marshals, just as they enforce the mass ordinance for all of us adults, will be deployed across the school district, checking in on schools, and there will be a $100 fine for every violation attached to this. So we're gonna there's gonna be accountability attached to this as well.
Mayor, is there any thought of expanding this again to other places in the city?
You know, not right now. That has not been robustly discussed by City Council, and we're at a point right now where, as much as it might cause many of us a great degree of consternation and frustration, adults are making decisions for themselves, whether they be vaccinated, whether they be masked. Our children do not have that option. I think our goal has to be to continue to follow the data. And if, in fact, we continue to see the Delta variant rage through this country the way that it is, particularly across the American South, where vaccination rates are not where they ought to be, then everything's still on the table. We'll use good data. Data gives you intelligence. Intelligence allows you to make good, informed public health policy. So taking nothing off the table, that and specifically is not on the table right now.
Let me ask a follow-up. After your remarks yesterday, we saw a lot of attention from some other community leaders in some of South Carolina's larger cities. You've been in touch with folks, you know, mayors in Charleston or in Greenville. I mean, do you think this is something that other municipalities might do? Is this the area to go line for the municipalities?
We'll see. You know, in this space and others, the city has been in the vanguard over the last several years. Our colleagues on City Council, I wouldn't say almost every vote we've taken has been unanimous. So this is not a partisan issue or regional issue. And we've had any number of conversations with leaders at the Municipal Association. As you know, Howard Duval is the former executive director of the Municipal Association for many years. We spent a great deal of time with our colleagues at the conference just 2 weekends ago, and this was very much an issue of discussion. I did talk to several mayors, including the mayors of Greenville and Charleston, about this. I have no idea what their intentions are right now, but I hope and pray that we'll find more and more people following our lead.
Can you explain the fire marshals in the schools and the $100 fine for students or the families? So will we see fire marshals in our schools?
The district has ultimate authority over the schools by virtue of our Constitution. The principals have the authority to run those schools, so that's where the authority will lie. Our fire marshals, under the direction of Chief Jenkins, will be tasked with enforcing the ordinance as they have. We'll be common sense. We'll be thoughtful. We know that we're obviously working with children, and that will be our goal. But there will be accountability attached to this, and I think it's so important. Some of the questions I got from some of the parents as we were approaching the podium. We want to remove every sense of uncertainty from your decision-making process. This is the law in the city of Columbia. This is the law. We intend to enforce it. We want to give you the safety and security and sanctity of mind to understand that at least at those schools within our jurisdiction, and hopefully we'll be able to work closely with our neighboring jurisdictions, both in the unincorporated area of the county and other smaller towns, to maybe between now and the beginning of the school year to find some uniformity. But in the schools, and I've got a list of them right here, we're talking about roughly 43 schools, public and private. This will be enforced.
And the fine, how will that work? Will it be a fine on children? Will it be a fine on families?
No, we're not fining kids. Or, no, this is to the administrator, the adult charged with enforcing the law. No, we're not fining kids. No.
What do you say to folks who say, this is government overreach, that you're requiring something that the governor is very clear shouldn't be required?
Well, the governor does not. The governor has expressed his opinion. That is not state law, and we respect his ability to have his own opinion. Government overreach. I mean, we live in the greatest democratic nation in the history of the world. The reality is that we are a nation of laws, not of men. And if, in fact, we're going to maintain some degree of order, some degree of public health, if, in fact, we're going to preserve lives and livelihoods, we have watched what this pandemic has done not only to our lives, our public health, but also to our economy and the way that we live. If, in fact, we're not willing to act to put things back on track, then I'm not sure what that says about us as a community, as a society, as a nation, as a state or a city. So to those who disagree, I respect their ability and right to disagree. We're going to continue to move forward to save lives and save livelihoods.
Have you coordinated this with the school district at all? Because my understanding is under state law, the teachers would not be able to enforce mask mandates.
I've communicated with both, obviously, the two public school superintendents that I know are affected by this, and made them clearly aware of our intentions without any doubt. The last part of that question was what school teachers will not be able to enforce the law. Well, that's not what the proviso says. The proviso verbatim says no school district or any of its schools may use any funds appropriated or authorized pursuant to this act to require that its students and or employees wear a face mask at any of its education facilities. This prohibition extends to the announcement or enforcement of any such policy. So the reality is that prevalent legal opinion is that the legislature cannot mandate schools not be allowed to require masks, but they can withhold the associated money there. This will not require any funds appropriated by the legislature to enforce. We'll provide the masks, and now we're just asking everyone to comply with the law, and this is the law in Columbia.
Can you explain the jurisdiction over private schools? Not a public institution, private schools, South Carolina, a lot of leeway. What authority do you have over private schools?
If private schools call 911, police show up. If private schools have a fire, public sector agencies show up as well. This is civil society where the laws of the public apply to every institution, public and private. There's a clear exemption, just as when we did the mask ordinance last year, that speaks very clear to religious exemptions, and that's also stated in the executive order.
And on your conversation with Attorney General Wilson, how did that go? What did he say?
It went well. Al and I, we've been friends a very long time. We have some fundamental differences on any number of issues. But I wanted to give him the courtesy of him knowing exactly what we're doing and the rationale for the decision making, and that's what that conversation was. It was a great courteous conversation.
This be a 60-day emergency declaration if this gets approved, and
I'm trying to remember what the 61 days is. I think the limit of our authority.
so
Yeah.
that's sort of, so this would be at least a 61-day mandate, and then you'd have to revisit.
I hope, honestly, the hope and prayer is that this is not an issue. I mean, the numbers don't seem to be trending in that direction. However, I'd love if at the first day of school, if this is something deep in our rearview mirror, hopefully, certainly after 61 days, it's not an issue. But we'll monitor the data. We'll stay engaged. This is a place. I'll say this, unless you have some more questions. Where, yes, ma'am. This is a place where I hope none of us want to be. We want everyone to rally together, to lock arm in arm, and do everything we can to suppress this virus. We ought not have to go into another academic year. I'm a father of two school-age girls. Both of them are teenagers. They've both been vaccinated, but they will both be showing up at school wearing masks and doing everything they can to protect their health. We got to get through this. The only way we're going to get through it is if we do it together. Thank you.
And we saw the teachers that were worried and some are here as well. What do you have to say for the teachers that are in high school where masks now?
Yeah. This is an emergency declaration and an ordinance that has been narrowly tailored to address a very acute challenge. What do you do for not only those that can't be vaccinated, but those that are also voteless and voiceless, and those are the children under 12. I would rather it also apply to high schools. I think it's more securely the legal foundation, the public policy argument is much more articulate as it relates to those who cannot yet receive vaccine. I would love to find some leadership at the not just here on the local level, but on the state level and national level, backing our play. This is a time we got to put the foolish politics behind us and decide that we're going to do everything we can to preserve lives, and hope and pray that we'll find the support that allows us to not only deal with high school students, but college students and every single one of us.
Mayor, just in the time since you answered that original question, people are still confused about the enforceability. Teachers texting me right now, wondering what's going to do.
Teachers will not be fined, but wear your mask. Okay? The CEOs of the schools will be held responsible. I fully expect, based on my conversations with our superintendents and other public policy leaders, that they will comply with our local law. We love teachers. We will support teachers. We want to make sure that our teachers are able to remain healthy and safe. Those that obviously will not comply with the law, we'll deal with that when the time comes. But this is not meant to be an issue for teachers or for our babies. We do expect parents to support our play. And if we have to find some other way to deal with it, this is an evolving crisis as it has been for the last year and a half. We'll evolve along with it.
So to be clear, the fine would be levied at the school administrator?
Yes. And I hope and pray that they will be empowered by their superiors to do the right thing. The school districts, I will tell you, our school district partners, our school district leaders, our school district commissioners have been on one accord, wanting the ability to make sure that they can keep schools safe. We've supported them for the last year and a half. We'll continue to support them, and we see this very much as a partnership. So the goal is just to make it clear. This is our expectation. We expect everyone within the four corners of the City of Columbia to abide by this law upon passage by City Council tomorrow. It's not. It does not.
Just to clarify, this declaration does it or does it not include teachers and staff?
It absolutely does. The facial covering shall be required by all faculty, staff, children over the age of 2, and visitors in all public buildings at public and private schools or daycares whose purpose is to educate and or care for children between the ages of 2 and 14 and to slow the spread of the novel coronavirus and the disease COVID-19 within the city limits. Yeah. Wear your mask. If you can, please consider getting vaccinated. Let's do our part. This is a journey we've been on much too long together, and it's the type of thing, a pandemic, we obviously none of us have lived in one before, unless you're 103 years old. This is something we can only see our way out of together, so let's do it together. Thank y'all. God bless you.